This afternoon, a phone call took place between Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump. Incidentally, this was their 8th phone conversation. The conversation was lengthy, lasting nearly 2.5 hours, and was clearly highly informative, yet extremely candid and confidential. Our president began the conversation by congratulating Donald Trump on the success of his efforts to normalize the situation in the Gaza Strip. These U.S. president's peacekeeping efforts have been highly praised in the Middle East, in America itself, and in most countries around the world. Naturally, Russia's principled position was outlined in favor of a comprehensive Middle East settlement based on a universally recognized international legal framework that would guarantee sustainable peace for all peoples in the region. The telephone conversation placed particular emphasis on the Ukrainian crisis. Vladimir Putin provided a detailed assessment of the current situation, emphasizing Russia's interest in achieving a peaceful political and diplomatic solution. It was noted in particular that during the special military operation, the Russian armed forces retained complete strategic initiative along the entire line of contact. Under these circumstances, the Kyiv regime is resorting to terrorist methods, striking civilian targets and energy infrastructure, to which we are forced to respond accordingly. Donald Trump repeatedly emphasized the need for a swift peace in Ukraine. The idea that the Russian-Ukrainian conflict has proven the most difficult to resolve in all of the U.S. president's peacemaking efforts was evident in his statements throughout the conversation. And of course, in this regard, he also mentioned his successes in resolving 8 other regional conflicts. One of the American president's key points was that ending the conflict in Ukraine would open up he emphasized this, enormous prospects for developing economic cooperation between the United States and Russia. Incidentally, both sides spoke of the deep mutual sympathy between the peoples of both countries, which had been clearly demonstrated during World War II. It was emphasized that the current state of affairs in bilateral relations appears paradoxical against this backdrop. The issue of possible supplies of long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine was also raised. Vladimir Putin reiterated his position that Tomahawks would not change the situation on the battlefield, but would cause significant damage to relations between our countries, not to mention the prospects for a peaceful resolution. Trump naturally mentioned that he was meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy tomorrow, and also said that during his meeting with Zelenskyy, he would naturally take into account the considerations expressed by the Russian president during their phone conversation today. Against this backdrop, it's noteworthy that the presidents discussed the possibility of holding another face-to-face meeting. This is truly a very important point. It was agreed that representatives of the two countries will immediately begin preparing for a summit, which could be held, for example, in Budapest. This work will likely begin with a telephone call between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and our Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And as the representatives, the Foreign Minister and the Secretary of State work together, it will likely become clear when the summit itself can be organized. President Trump was the first to mention Budapest, and our president immediately supported the idea of holding a possible summit in this European capital. Overall, I would say the telephone contact between the Russian and U.S. presidents was very useful, and the two leaders agreed to stay in touch.